It's over. The Djokovic visa drama in Australia is finally over, and at the end we will not see Novak Djokovic playing in this Australian Open. Something that, although these 2 weeks being a roller coaster ride, almost throughout the whole way it looked like the most likely thing. So let's just make a quick recap here. When Djokovic arrived to Australia, he supposedly had a medical exemption to play at the Australian Open, but to enter Australia with this medical exemption, you need a type of visa that Djokovic did not have. And this is where the big drama started, because when Djokovic posted this photo on Instagram, saying he had an exemption to play the tournament, I really did not understand why so much hate towards him, especially because none of us knew why did he have that medical exemption. But already a lot of people wanted to make a big fuss out of it, and many people accused the Australian Open for giving Djokovic a special treatment. Something that, without the information of why did Novak Djokovic receive that medical exemption, it seems kind of a dumb accusation. But when Djokovic won his first case on his visa cancellation after being almost 1 week in that immigration hotel, we knew that Djokovic tested positive for COVID the 16th of December. And this is where even the bigger drama came. Now at least we knew the reason why he was given the medical exemption, because having COVID in the last 6 months is one of the reasons why you can be given this exemption, but the drama came because Djokovic had attended events the 16th and 17th of December, obviously not respecting the quarantine you should do when you test positive. So now Djokovic is not the guy that thinks he can be above the law, but the guy that puts other people's lives in risk. And this is where Djokovic screwed up, because in my opinion, if he would have tested positive the 16th of December, but he would have respected his quarantine days, we would probably be seeing him playing at the Australian Open. Although you have to say that him catching COVID in December is quite suspicious timing. Because at that time, let's say Djokovic wants to play at the Australian Open, he does not have time to take the 2 shots of the vaccine, which are required to play at the Australian Open, and if I'm not mistaken, to enter Australia as well. So literally, his only option to play at the Australian Open back then was catching COVID. As dumb as it sounds, it was his only option. Now, I'm not saying that he caught COVID deliberately, but catching COVID, let's say, saved him from not playing at the Australian Open. And it's quite strange how Djokovic managed all of this. He did not say anything on his social media of catching COVID, which if he would have said, I think everything would have been a lot easier. But obviously if his intentions was to go to this event and to this interview, he was not gonna say it. But at that time in December, there was already a lot of uncertainty if Djokovic was gonna play or not at the Australian Open. He did not want to talk about it in his interviews, but obviously his intentions were to play. So like I say, if he would have tested positive the 16th of December, he makes a post on social media about it, and respects his quarantine time, I think nobody should have a problem with him playing at the Australian Open. But the way Djokovic handled all of this was not the best in my opinion. Obviously he didn't think all of that was gonna come to light. When he arrived to Australia, I don't think he thought he was gonna have so many problems. Now, I don't like how Djokovic handled all of this situation, but I think he undeservedly was then used by Australians' politics, who took advantage of the situation. Because let's be honest, if they would have wanted, when Djokovic comes to the airport and they see that Djokovic's visa is not the correct one, they can see the Australian Open has given him a medical exemption, and with a pair of phone calls, they can give him the correct visa and he stays. But instead, they wanted the whole Australian country to know that it doesn't matter if it's Djokovic or whoever it is, an unvaccinated person cannot enter the country. This is the message that they've been trying to send, and with all the sacrifices that the Australian people have made, they weren't gonna let this man come to the country unvaccinated, because that would have pissed a lot of Australians off. So it's better to send Djokovic to this immigration hotel, and although he won his case, they knew that the Minister of Immigration can just cancel his visa whenever he wants. And that's exactly what happened at the end, and Djokovic's appeal did not serve him this time. So, is Djokovic's deportation fair? To me, once the Australian Open has given him a medical exemption and he comes to the country, although his visa is not the correct one, the correct thing would have been that they gave him the right visa, but the Australian Open, who was the one that gave him the medical exemption, they should have been the ones that looked more into the matter, and all the things that Djokovic did while being positive, seeing that Djokovic had attended events and he traveled without declaring it, which was another mistake that Djokovic made, although in his statement supposedly it's his team who made the mistake, but whoever it was a big mistake. So, do I think Djokovic should have been deported? Once he's there, I don't think so. That's where politics took advantage and made all of this a show. I mean, this man was there to play tennis. He can take all the PCR tests he wants. From what I know, it's much safer to be around an unvaccinated person who is negative, who obviously has no danger at all of spreading the virus, than a vaccinated guy who is positive who can spread the virus. So to me, the rules are a bit stupid to begin with. And Djokovic's case exposed that. It would be much better if instead of being vaccinated, that the requirement to enter Australia was to give negative in a PCR test. It sounds much more logical to me, but I'm not a scientist. I'm actually going in a direction in this video right now that I don't know much of, so let's stick to what I know. And what I know is that this case has divided the world. The ones that were supporting Novak Djokovic, pretty much all of them are not in favor of vaccines being such an important requirement nowadays, and the ones that wanted Djokovic to be deported are the ones that are in favor of vaccines and think that they are the solution for this pandemic. So is Djokovic a hero? Is he a villain? I don't think he's neither of the two. I don't think he deserved to be treated like he has been treated in Australia. I'm sure these 2 weeks have been a complete nightmare for him, but it's also true that he was irresponsible in the month of December, and that's what ended up costing him. At the end of the day, the biggest loser in all of this is the tournament itself, because the best player in the world is not going to be in it, and it surely would have been fun seeing him play with some part of the crowd booing him, which sometimes is not the best idea if you wish him to lose. And I'm also curious to know if he would have played well this Australian Open. With all the tension and the pressure of the last 2 weeks, it's practically not human to support all of that and still play well. But we will never know, and unless Nadal goes all the way, we will have a new Australian Open champion. And if Medvedev wins the whole event, he will be number 1 in the world, taking Djokovic's spot. And if Zverev was to go the whole way, I'm pretty sure he would be very close to that number 1 spot. So although Djokovic is out, I think this Australian Open does have a lot of interest. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of surprises. There are a lot of young players that are rising their level, so let's see who goes all the way. Let me know in the comments what is your take on this whole Djokovic case. Like I say, I think it's time for it to be over, talk about tennis, but I'm very interested in what you guys in my channel think about it, so I will be reading all of your comments. If you would like to enjoy tennis commentary videos like this, but about more exciting topics, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm sure I will be posting throughout this Australian Open. I don't know what happens at the Australian Open, but there's always new players that come up, insane 5-set matches, crazy crowd atmosphere, so I'm sure we're gonna have a lot to talk about. So make sure to stay tuned by subscribing and hitting the bell button to know when I upload. Take care, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Peace!